6 Makueni, 7 Bomet, 8 Tana River, and 9 Kakamega. We have counties where strikes have been suspended after the county governments engaged the nurses union and had an agreement on how and when they are going to implement and pay the demands in the return to work agreement. One is Mandera, which suspended their strike on 1st February 2019. Second is Vihiga. Vihiga suspended their strike on 29th January. Third, Tharaka-Nithi. They suspended their strike on 1st February. Four, Nyandarua. They suspended their strike on 4th. Also on 4th, Kitui County suspended their strike through a court order, which was obtained by the employer of the nurses at the county government of Kitui. 6, Kiambu, which agreed and suspended their strike on 4th February. 7, Garissa County, which agreed with the union and the nurses in the county and suspended their strike on 8th, today that is. So far, we have 4 counties that have implemented and paid the 2 items in the return to work agreement that was signed on 2nd of November 2017. 1 is Kwale, 2 Migori, 3 Machakos, and 4 Nairobi. You should notice that Mombasa was among them. They agreed and in fact factored the payment into the payroll of the nurses and posted the money into their accounts. But come yesterday, they decided to retract and blocked the payment or stopped the payment to the nurses. So Mombasa will now join the strike. We have so far 13 counties who are yet to issue strike notices, and that is the counties have been engaging them and they have not reached a deadlock that would require a strike notice. So these counties are Baringo 1, 2 Laikipia, 3 Meru, 4 Bungoma, 5 Nyamira, 6 Isiolo, 7 Kajiado, 8 Kericho, 9 Kilifi, 10 Lamu, 11 Nandi, 12 Turkana, and 13 Uasin Gishu. So that is generally the overall outlook of the status of the nurses' strike, which is ongoing. I want also inform you that today we attended a meeting that was to be a meeting that had been called by the Senate Committee on Labor, and all the parties were there. Unfortunately, the committee did not reach a quorum, so the meeting was suspended or was adjourned to a later date that will be communicated by the committee. But we want to actually appreciate and commend the committee chaired by Honorable Johnson Sakaja for all the effort and gesture for Kenyans. This is not for the nurses, but for the nation of Kenya, for the people of Kenya. The heart that the chairperson has and the committee is a good gesture for Kenyans, because what we need at the end of the day is good health to every Kenyan, good health services to all Kenyans that deserve. I want to say that the problem that is there is not because of the nurses. The problem which is there is not because of the people who engage themselves in negotiating with the nurses. The problem which is there is the executive of the COG and the secretariat of the COG, who have colluded and formed a ring with SRC to frustrate the nurses. And this must be known by all Kenyans, by the world, that after the protracted and long-lasting strike of 2017, the nurses agreed with the government, both levels of the government, and the nation of Kenya and the people of Kenya had a sigh of relief. And everybody got that happiness that the nurses were able to calm down in their demands, and the government was able to listen, and we reached a deal that led to the signing of the return to work formula. It is unfortunate that almost 2 years down the line, the government has come to reject the deal. They have crafted a lot of excuses led by SRC. And we are wondering, when SRC came or became the controller of budget for county governments. These are autonomous governments which have got their treasuries, which have got their assemblies, which do budget and pass their own budgets for their expenditures. And in this case, most of the counties, if not all, had budgeted, factored the money into their budget to pay for the nurses small, and I want to repeat, the nurses very, very small increments that cannot be compared to what was granted to other workers of this nation. It is unfortunate that these people are not sensitive to the health of Kenyans. It is unfortunate that these people are not even feeling for the Kenyans who are dying, for mothers who are going without treatment, for HIV patients who are dying and suffering without being attended to, just because they had to force the nurses to go on strike. This is not a strike for the nurses. We have been forced into a corner, and the county governments, colluding with the SRC and COG, are on strike against Kenyans. It is unfortunate that Kenyans have to suffer and die because the government signed the return to work agreement in their capacity as the representatives of the employers and in their capacity as the employers, and then turned again to reject the return to work agreement with the advice, with the very wrong advice from SRC that was in place legally and was advising the government and was guiding the people who are negotiating accordingly. Determination of payments or remuneration or any agreement is made during that agreement. When you sign, you have determined what you've signed. Nobody should come from the back window and reject that determination. So when we were signing, the government had determined the payments. So the SRC cannot come again and purport that it is now when they want to determine the payment at the level of implementation. So I want to state very clearly that the nurses' strike that started on 4th of February 2019 is still on and will go on and will not stop and will not be called off until all the county governments pay the nurses the agreed items.
Just sit. Yes. Good evening. My name is Alfred Obengo. I'm the chairman of National Nurse Association of Kenya. I also have my counterparts from Kenya Progressive Nurse Association. We are the professional arm of nursing profession in Kenya. And today we join our union leaders. We join the Kenya National Union of Nurses leadership, and we join our colleagues across the country to condemn in the strongest terms possible the circular that was issued from SRC, purporting to be talking about equity that we've never seen in this country. As the Deputy Secretary General has said, we have a crisis. From the statistics that is given, we have a crisis in the public healthcare system. The crisis is going to escalate further if SRC continues to insult the nurses and midwives of this country. The crisis is going to escalate further if the dialogue that you're being dangled is done under mischief, deception, and with a lot of ping-pong games. It's a dialogue that when you engage in, you don't know whether you're moving forward or you're moving backwards. We want to reiterate that we are still ready for dialogue, but not dialogue built on contempt. It must be genuine dialogue, dialogue that is based on mutual respect. For SRC to purport that the small monies, in fact, I'm ashamed to say the small monies that the nurses are asking for, does not represent equity insofar as the wage balance in the healthcare industry is concerned, actually is an insult to the nursing fraternity. SRC has no iota of moral authority to lecture us about equity, and yet we know that when the MPs embark on raising their packages, they keep quiet. So which equity are they telling us, lecturing us about? Let them go first and handle that issue in Parliament. The issue of wage bill is not about the totality of the wage bill. It's about the disparity of the wage that we have amongst the Kenyan workers. The gap is so big between the highest earning and the lowest earning. So we want to reiterate here that we are in support of our union. We are support of the nurses and the midwives of this country. In fact, when SRC released that circular, I can call it an obtuse and a very insensitive circular, our nurses are just on their heels. They are waiting for us to tell them to come to Nairobi to face, anaitwa nani? Mengich. To face Mengich. We demand that that circular will be withdrawn because it's very insensitive, it is insulting the nurses. Or we are going to take measures that is going to escalate this crisis to a level that has never been seen in Kenya. We are professionals and we are demanding respect to be accorded to us like any other professionals in Kenya. And one question that you're asking, just when the president of this country launched the UHC in Nairobi, in Kisumu, why is the COG and SRC sabotaging the president? Why? Why are they sabotaging UHC? We as nurses and midwives, we want to tell Kenyans that we love them so much. But at the same time, we can't love them to the extent of bringing suffering to ourselves. Let them not blame the nurses for moving out of the hospitals. Let them not blame the nurses for downing their tools. The blame should go to SRC and COG. They are the culprits of the death and the suffering that the Kenyans are going through today. Otherwise, I'll also give my colleagues from Kenya Progressive Association to Nurse Association to say their word.